exercise you do, you can say, is exercise very good for your body? And of course, I'm going to say yes. But you can flip that around and say, is exercise very bad for your body? And the answer is also yes.
Mhm.
And really it's because people, I think they separate the person from the person doing the exercise, which I think we have in common in the way that we teach, in that there is no separation of the sort, and they have to be considered. So flow, that's another word that people might coerce or co-opt to explain a variety of different things. But as I've often said, if you get up in the morning and you just randomly flow, you randomly move around and, you move your joints and you get whatever it is that you do. Um, I'm not, and I'm sure you'd agree, we're not saying it's not good for you as a system. That obviously you increase circulation, you're pumping your joints, you're getting nutrients into your joints, et cetera, et cetera. But the main problem with that concept is that when you just flow randomly, you're moving the way that your body already moves. As you know, I often say you can't move where you can't move. So, if you have a shoulder that's not functional in the general sense of the term, and you flow with that shoulder, you're really only going to move the shoulder in the way the shoulder moves anyway. So, is the movement good for your body? Generally, yes. Is the movement good for your shoulder? Well, not if your shoulder's not moving, because we know that there's compensations. We know, I
Mhm.
mean, we've both dealt with high level athletes, and one of the amazing things about high level athletes is their astounding ability to compensate for the lack of function in many of their articulations. So I bring this up because that's why I find your thing so fascinating, because it's not random insofar as you're setting out these goals of movement, and then when you run up against problems in that movement, like you're either lateralizing the way that you're doing it, but the intent there is to train that person for the ability to create movements in a variety of different positions for the movements themselves, not necessarily saying, well, if you can't do that, just move to another animal, or you know what I mean, move to another flow that you can do,
Right.
because that's a big difference I think people need to understand.
Absolutely. And that is certainly the thing that was most exciting to me when I found FRC. When I first
Mm,
came to the first seminar, which was, man, it may have been 10 years ago, maybe 2014 or 2015. That
mm,
was the first time I came with my buddy Chris Flo, met you for the first time. I think it was in Jersey. And
mm,
as soon as the workshop started, as soon as the seminar started, I just went, yep, this is it. This is the thing that I had been missing. And, and I will admit, actually, let me rephrase that. Whenever you're getting someone who's just first starting animal flow, um, we say, how do you get better at the thing? You do the thing. How do you get better at crab reaches, which is one of our movement? You do more crab reaches.
mm.
But there, of course, is a limit to that. There's a ceiling to that, where the body stops adapting to the stimulus, and
Yes.
then you have to look at the what accommodations are happening.
Hmm.
And I love that now, and since I've really started implementing the FRS principles, I now have this toolbox to where if I'm watching someone perform one of these movements, I can go, okay, this right shoulder looks suspect, that left ankle looks suspect, the right hip looks suspect. Cool. Let me essentially do an FRA on them and let
Mm,
me see what's going on with those joints. Then we apply these very specific principles, and then now we reinforce them by going back to the movement that exposed them in the first place. And
mm,
and that has changed my practice so much, but has also changed the way that I teach animal flow so much. And then because it's so important to me, I talk about it all the time within our community. And then we see that it spreads through the community, and everyone else knows exactly what you said is you can't go where you can't go. And there will be a certain amount of adaptation that happens in a positive way, but then there's compensation that happens once you reach that limit. And then you're going to need some sort of specific tool to continue to engage and open up X, or get more space or build more architecture, or whatever the end goal ends up being.